We are live. Welcome to episode 10 of Long Toss here on the Walkoff. I am Adam Mack, joined as always by Scott Belford. Scott, how you doing?
Good. We're 5 days away from opening day. Feeling great.
I never thought we'd see this day. There were some dark days back in January and February, but here we are. Some breaking news that we'll get to shortly here, but Reese McGuire has been traded away from the Blue Jays. So some expert analysis, I'm sure, will follow here in just a few moments. Before we go right around the board, though, and do all the intros, just a little bit of housekeeping right off the top. Discord is open and free, so there's a link to our Discord in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube live right now or listening to it on audio or whatever tomorrow or later in the week. Patreon is also live, up and running, so thanks to Shane, Joel, Josh, Jeremy, and Ian who support us on Patreon for $4 a month. Scott and I do baseball movie reviews as the main perk on our Patreon. So today we actually just laid down our review of A League of Their Own, so that'll be up in the next day or two. We've also got Bull Durham, Mr. Baseball, and Major League. And I believe the next one on the docket is Moneyball. So lots to look forward to there today. Quick review of the Patreon. This comes in from Ian, who says, I just listened to the Mr. Baseball pod last night. Honestly haven't watched this in at least 20 years. Boy, did the Hammer nickname go over my head as a 10-year-old. And great catch on the Yankees mustache fact check. So we have a lot of fun with that. All right, moving on now from all the housekeeping is out of the way. Let's go around the horn here, and let's start with Craig Ballard. How you doing, Craig?
Episode number 10. We are in double digits of the Long Toss. Episode number 10 and final episode of the Long Toss prior to action. Let's go. I'm double-fisted with my 92 and 93 World Series rings. Craig, is that a harbinger of what's coming this season? Yes, it is. Spoiler alert, yes, it is.
Very nice.
Love that optimism.
Winning, 2 World Series this year. I like it.
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented. Just that good. All right. Joel, how about yourself? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Same as always, in the middle of production. We have one more month left of shooting, and then I'll have footage on the show. So that'll be really fun. And then, of course, everything. I always miss the sign. It's over here. Everything going on TikTok at Hey Connie. Just doing stuff there. I made a really weird video.
Left and right, hey?
Actually, I made a really weird video about the movie The Abyss.
I saw that
Thursday with the rat, using the oxygenated water to drown the rat, and that just went crazy. Like that's like my kind of biggest outside baseball video that I've ever had. So things are going well over there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott and I have talked, and once we run out of baseball movies to talk about on the Patreon, we're gonna just do sports movies. And then once we run out of those, maybe we'll start with The Abyss, and we'll bring you on as an expert to talk about The Abyss with us.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
When the Abyss, that was James Cameron, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Canadian.
Did you go to the Science Center when the Abyss exhibition was there?
I did not. I actually wasn't in Edmonton when it was there.
Oh, I was just here over the winter break there, and I actually checked.
Oh, it was
pretty
cool. That's awesome.
Pretty cool. And then new face on Long Toss, we've got Justin from Bat Flips and Maple Dips. That's your podcast, correct?
Nice.
Did I get that right?
That's the one. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Justin. Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Where are you tuning in from?
Well, I'm in Saskatoon. My co-host Patrick, who's not here today, he's out in Halifax. Bit of a time gap. It's already in the evening for him. So we're the two guys that host that show, and we're coming up on 4 years here in June since we've been doing it. So we're 170 plus episodes now. So we'll crack 200 this season. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now he's in Nova Scotia full time, or how's that work?
Yeah, he lives out there. Yeah, that's where he's lives and works. So we gotta navigate the time difference all the time, but that's why we kind of stick to audio only for our pod. But we're both not huge video guys when it comes to that, and not huge tech guys. So I've had to learn to edit audio and our time doing that. So that's been half the adventure.
I hear you. It's quite the business to get into once you start realizing how much of that stupid behind the scenes stuff goes on, right? It's,
yep,
probably
labor
more
of love
time
for sure.
consuming than the actual show itself. So
yep, definitely.
all right, well, we're glad to
it's
have
funny.
you here.
It's funny because our moderator for our YouTube comment section and stuff like that, Mark, is normally here with us, and we're running into technical difficulties with him trying to get in here. So yeah, even though we may seem like tech experts, we are not.
Yeah, Mark is texting me right now. He's like, did you change the password to get into this Zoom call? I'm like, no. He's like, I've tried it like 100 times. So, all right, let's, we do have a question from Discord here. We'll get started and then we'll start hitting some of the news. But the first one comes in, says, this is for Craig. So, Craig, I follow you on TikTok. Saw a new post last night about the MLB Creator Class. What is that all about, and how can we, as your fans, help you get there this year?
Oh my goodness! Well, that's breaking news right there. That I've got fans. So right out of the gate, I'm thrilled. Okay, my goodness. Well, thank you so much for that. No, that is really awesome. And I want to say on that video, the Walkoff and Hey Kami have already commented on it. Much appreciated. Yeah, the MLB did something like this last season, and boy, oh boy, you'll have to forgive me. And in all honesty, anyone who went for it last year, I think is going to be saying the same thing. You'll have to forgive me. I just don't know much about it. There wasn't much communicated about it. So I don't know if it was just a pilot thing they're trying to get off the ground. I don't really know what took place there. And then they picked a few creators, and I never ended up seeing content from them. So what it's all about, my gosh, I don't have a great answer for you, but seeing as how it's back this year, it makes me think that whatever happened last season, they've worked out whatever they wanted to work out. Hopefully they've got that ground running. For me, they call it the content creator, MLB content creator. So right away, that's piquing my curiosity. If I had hair, it'd be standing up like right away, because that's what I love to do, right? Create MLB content. So I would think if there's a way for you, and Joel, I mean, Joel has, I think there's 8 billion people on the planet, but somehow he has like 9 billion followers somehow. I don't really understand how he does the math on that, but he might have a better answer here on how you can support me on something like that. But Joel, I would think if they go in that video and tag at MLB and maybe put in that hashtag MLB Creator Class as well, which you'll see on my videos going forward. You'll see that hashtag MLB Creator Class. So Joel, I'm thinking on my videos the next couple of days, I better make sure I have that hashtag there as well. That's something that's going to help. But what do you think, Joel? I don't have a real good idea for how they can go out and support me. I'm tagging into you, brother. Help me out here.
Last year, I think what I did was I put that hashtag, like I didn't just do it on the videos that I wanted to express the idea of the MLB content creator, because you may hit a video that just knocks it out of the ballpark and you get a ton of views and it's got that hashtag on it. And that's besides all the comments that you're going to get and all the links that you'll get from people coming on your page and saying, MLB, check him out. When you make a booming video that just has that hashtag, they're going to look at the sheer numbers of it, right? Say, oh, that video did really, really well. And it's connected to our hashtag. So as long as you keep that going, I think, I don't remember it being at the start of last season. I remember it coming around like in June, right? And it was very, very late. And it was like a 2-3 week process to try to get some people. And then they all got to go to the All-Star game and do kind of like live feeds through MLB. So there's like a lot at stake here if you end up making it. So yeah, absolutely. Try to stay consistent, and you make a consistent amount of videos, but maybe over the next little bit of time, broaden your horizons beyond just Blue Jays and try to grab those stories that are going to grab the entire baseball community.
Great point. And in all honesty, guys, I really appreciate you talking with me about this. And I'm not even kidding when I say in all honesty, of course you say that, Craig, you're a Blue Jay creator. Honestly, MLB, if you're listening, and first of all, you should be. The Walkoff is doing epic things lately. But anyway, MLB, hey, there needs to be a Toronto Blue Jay content creator in there. I'm not even kidding. I don't understand, of all times, to grasp onto Toronto Blue Jay baseball. It's not just the entire country. It's the team itself. Like there's never been. We wax poetically every darn week on the show, guys, about how there's never been a more exciting time to be a Toronto Blue Jay fan than right here, right now. So I want to wish luck to the other Toronto Blue Jay creators as well, man. We need some Blue Jay content, guys.
A great time to be a Blue Jays fan. Absolutely. I was just watching this morning the team projections and profiling that Jean Boy did, because they're going through every single team, and they went through the Blue Jays today. And nothing makes my day better than watching Yankees fan like reluctantly admit how awesome our team is. So it's
Very satisfying.
Watch. All right. Well, Mark continues to struggle, but I'll keep helping him out as best I can as we go. Let's pivot slightly then from the creator class comment for Craig and do something that we can all kind of discuss here. MLB announced this week something called the MLB Home Run Derby X, which I believe is going to be like an international weird celebrity kind of home run derby tournament. You guys seen the announcement for this? Because the announcement video that I saw was 60 seconds of quick flashy cuts, but it didn't really tell you much.
Yeah.
So I did some reading, which I hate doing, but they made me do it, so I had to read. That's how much I love you guys, and I love everybody watching. I'm willing to read to get the facts sometimes. So it's a combination of former, I guess they're calling them legends, right? Across these four teams. Four teams are the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Cubs. And then they're going to like Korea, Japan, Mexico, the UK, and they're doing these weird home run derbies on these modified fields. Elevated pitcher's mound, elevated home plate. It's like a weird 45-degree angle field. And it's kind of a home run derby, but it's also like you can catch the fly balls and stuff. Very interesting. And as part of that, the teams are made up of, like I said, the legends. You've got a female superstar from Fast Pitch. And then you've got a social media influencer. So I'm wondering if the content creators are going to be playing into that in some role, maybe for future seasons. I think they've already got the social media guys picked out for this year. But it's interesting. So I guess what I wanted to just get everybody's opinion on, now that we've kind of explained what it is do you like this idea? Do you hate, like, what do you like about it? What do you hate about it? And what? Let's start with Justin, since you're our newest panelist. Let's start with you. Have you looked into this Home Run Derby X, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, first of all, anything that kind of references MVP baseball 2005 is already a win in my book. So
Okay.
when I was reading about this and saw the elevated mound, they're talking about like having targets to hit and points for catching fly balls, that kind of thing. I was like, man, this is like my childhood. So I'm looking forward to it. It's interesting that they're bringing back like the legends, as they call them. I mean, having Nick Swisher and Adrian Gonzalez, I guess those guys are pretty good in their day, but having those guys back, it's kind of interesting to see the competitiveness, I guess. I'm curious to know like how those guys still swing it. But no, I think it's interesting. Definitely brings a more youthful spin to these countries that they're going to visit. It'll probably get the younger folk involved more, which is probably what they're going for. We know baseball's fan base
for sure.
Baseball's fan base is definitely aging. So, I mean, I'm no spring chicken anymore myself. So, I think it's an interesting idea. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'll definitely give it a watch, but I'll have to it's a wait and see thing for me.
Joel, how do you feel about it?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to see it until I truly can tell myself if I like it or not. But it's like Red Bull baseball. I don't know. Like it's going somewhere else.
Red Bull baseball
like the
is a
idea.
great description of it. I hope you mean that as a compliment, because I watched the Red Bull crash.
Yeah, no,
race
like
when,
I don't.
The hockey
that's
skaters
not
are skating
shot.
downhill through the city. I love those.
Yeah, that's to me what I see in my mind is that like there's a part of hockey to that hardcore downhill skating events that they do. This seems like this hybrid version of, you take baseball, you take elements of baseball, you limit it. The scope of the field is you said tapered, right? It's not, you have to hit it more center field. You can't dead pull one for some reason. That's not going to be, there's no points over there. But I don't know. It's just funny how the days of spreading the game have gone from like Babe Ruth going to Japan and they've got like a secret spy as a catcher there trying to do espionage to like, this like super baseball. So I think I have to see it, like I said, to know if I'm going to like it. But if you're doing something where it gets a lot of people's eyes on the basics of baseball, and then within that you're advertising baseball, it'll be good for me.
Yeah, I agree. Craig, how about yourself?
I'm going to give 3 free ideas that, in all honesty, I like. One, we've talked about previously. If a home run is hit, it should be 2 points. If a fan catches it, that's down to 1 point. I think the fans would go crazy and get involved in something. I think they would love that. I would have a round with a professional softball pitcher, like windmill pitcher, like a female. I would mix it up like that, and I would have a round with a professional wiffle ball pitcher as well. I would really run the gamut. I would run the gamut, especially if, as you say, Adam, it doesn't always have to be the home run for the points. There's other things they're looking to do.
Right.
So I would look to do some things like that myself. You might even, because I remember there was a Men of Steel. If you remember that, it was a traveling softball team that went around Canada. That they just hit 500-foot moonshots left, right, and center. Maybe even something like that. Like on the surface, right here, right now, I'm the same as everybody. We have to see it because right here, right now, I don't know that it's that it's going to grab me, that it's going to draw me. Especially because we are free and loose with the term superstars and home run legends when Nick Swisher is walking it anyway. But so I would like to see maybe some additions happen there. I don't have the door closed on it. I thought Justin said it best when he talked about the whole thing, and right at the end he said, "But to be honest with you, I'm going to have to wait and see." I'm in that boat as well. Let's wait and see. Won't shut the door on it, but I'm not overly excited about it either.
Sorry to interrupt. It would kind of be interesting to do an element where you had a pinch runner sitting in the box ready to run when the ball was hit. So that like in the outfield, they're trying to make a play on somebody. The hitter's never running, but somebody's there to run. Mm-hmm. And you've got some really, really fast guys, like, the freeze guy who runs the outfield in the.
So I was thinking we did that. Yeah.
Right. It would be sweet to have some of those speed and like relay elements integrated into it. There's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
If they do the wiffle ball thing, they've got to bring out the childhood huge plastic bat to hit with. That'd be hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny because it's so rare MLB does anything innovative. So, like, I'm definitely intrigued, but also it's so rarely the MLB does anything right that I'm also like, I'm skeptical. Yeah. So I feel very much like all 3 of you about we'll see how this all actually unrolls. But it is a cool idea.
I don't know what you're talking about, Scott. I watch baseball because of the owners.
Yeah, right?
I think skeptical is a generous term for how I feel about it.
We're all in it for the analytic departments, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pros and cons of it, like you guys all mentioned, it's exciting that they're trying something new. I mean, they have to, right? They have to try something. I'm just looking at the YouTube comments here, and a lot of people in chat are pretty critical of this, that this is not baseball and a real baseball fan won't enjoy it. But like
nobody said it was baseball, but
yeah, I think that's kind of beyond the point of what MLB is trying to do here. Is they are just trying to catch that younger audience. And like I think of my 10-year-old and how much fun we had together watching Vladdy in the home run derby in 2019, right? And like, she doesn't like baseball at all, but man, did she ever have fun watching him hit 700 home runs that night, right? So if there's a way to like just energize and capture the youth with like a modified version, and I mean, there's going to be kinks that need to be worked out, but tip of the hat.
NHL's trying to do it, right? NHL's trying to do it, the skills competition, and like you saw guys blindfolded, and that's not hockey, but it's trying to be fun. Right? It's trying to be fun. Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about this before too, is that we want to see more of this stuff at like the All-Star game, right? Like we want to see races, just like a dead sprint to first base or whatever.
Bunch contest. Let's go.
Like, yeah, so it's encouraging that at least baseball, for the first time in 100 plus years, is actually at least open to getting creative with some of this stuff. So I don't know. I'm encouraged by it.
Are you saying the ghost runner on second isn't creative, Adam?
It's not even a ghost runner, Scott. We've all played baseball in our backyard. It's not a ghost runner. The ghost runner is a ghost.
Thank you.
You hit one to the bushes and you score it as a double and you're
Yeah.
okay, ghost runner on second. There's not a real runner there. And then the next one's another double. Okay, ghost runner scores, right?
Yes.
That's a ghost run. The fact that baseball like embraces the term ghost runner and absolutely misuses it is more than enough reason to be skeptical that they're going to botch this as well.
It's a
Yeah.
man. The Manfred man is the best term for it.
Yeah, the Manfred man.
Alrighty, well, that's
You
I
gonna
was
talk
gonna
the big
add
Blue Jays news or what?
I was going to add
Go
to
ahead, Phil.
what you were saying about the thing was that the locales has me interested. Like seeing home runs off an aircraft carrier or into the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon or off Mount Rushmore or on the top of the CN Tower. Like I'd like to see some ridiculous places for baseball. That might be interesting. The backdrop of where you're launching these balls into that could be.
What about that ballpark in Tampa Bay?
There's no.
Oh, sorry.
ballpark in Tampa Bay.
Sorry. We don't have evidence that ballpark can hold more than 20 people. So I guess. Okay,
In our YouTube chat here, Connor says, honestly, we need the MLB to start promoting that home run derby they do in the Bahamas over the winter.
Yes.
That's always cool. So couldn't agree more. We'll talk that another time. But yeah, a lot of fun with those guys down there hitting bombs into the ocean. So kind of along those lines. All right, so let's now, before we get into the rest of the news, let's talk Reese McGuire, shall we? This kind of just dropped as we were getting the show ready, so I haven't really even had a chance to look at the guy we got back. I don't know the name. Scott, do you know the name of the catcher we got back in return?
Yeah, it's Collins. Here, let me
Zach
pull.
Collins.
Yes, there we go.
What was that, sorry, Justin?
Zach
Collins coming over from the White Sox, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so
I've got a little info on him here.
yeah,
There are
well,
lots.
6'3", 220-pound catcher. He was a top 10 pick back in 2016, a first rounder. He just turned 27, so he's an established guy. Spent the majority of his time in AAA, kind of bouncing up and down to the majors, very similar to what Reese did in the last few years. He had a 951 OPS and 367 plate appearances in AAA in 2019. Bats from the left-hand side. There is an option remaining, which I honestly look at this deal and think that is probably the biggest sticking point for doing it, is that they didn't want to carry three catchers, or at least that's what it seems like, and I think they were well aware that if they put Reese McGuire on waivers, he's not going to clear, so I guess instead of losing him completely, they have somebody coming back.
yeah, that's kind of my takeaway from this. Is it just felt like kind of a lateral trade, maybe a slight downgrade, but just to get a guy with options, it gives us some flexibility. So,
remember we talked last week about back in the day in the Gord Ash regime. On a Saturday, Jose Bautista was a Toronto Blue Jay, and Gord Ash tried to sneak him through waivers. And on Sunday, he was Baltimore was in town playing the Blue Jays, and on Sunday he was a Baltimore Oriole. He went across the hall and was now Baltimore Oriole because they didn't sneak him through waivers at all. He was plucked. So
Yeah.
to try to get sneaky here, we can have every Reese McGuire joke you want to have on planet Earth. That's us because we're used to him and he's part of it. We're in that fan base. Other fan bases are going to look around and say, "What? I'm laughing at what? Sorry, it's like a 26-year-old left-handed catcher. Where's the joke? What am I missing here?" He
Yeah.
still has value. He still has value here, if we're being totally honest. If we take our Blue Jay hat off for a minute here, it is definitely housekeeping. Think of a scenario where you do lose Reese in the waiver scenario, and Captain Kirk does go in that J-Ram trade. Now all of a sudden, the Gabriel Moreno, who you've been taking baby steps, gets forced into action. Do the Blue Jays want any part of that? I can't see. Not at this point. I can't see it. So from a housekeeping standpoint, it seemed like another shrewd move from Shabyron Atkins doing what Shabyron Atkins do, to be totally honest.
That's a really good point, Craig, about just the fact that this is a guy who is a major league catcher right now. So if for whatever reason one of these guys gets moved, Kirk gets moved in a deal, however this plays out, there is another layer of depth there before we need to go to Gabriel Moreno, who again has played 5 games at AAA. Like he still doesn't have a lot of experience. So I think that's a good little thing to have there.
For sure. And I mean, Moreno only played 45 total games last year, something like that
Yeah.
too, right? Between the two levels. But yeah, no, I'm with you guys here. It's definitely a move to not carry 3 catchers, but have Collins in the wings if one of Jansen or Kirk either gets traded or injured, right? It's an easy call up. It's that security measure where now they can definitely add Greg Bird to their roster.
Yeah, that's another one I
They
thought of
can
too. Yeah.
maybe add somebody else as they're going to have room to carry another guy now that McGuire's not on the bench. But what's interesting, it's so interesting with 28 guys to start the season. I'm really curious to see who gets those extra 2 slots. But now it even becomes more interesting because now there's potentially 3 spots up for grabs, right?
So do you boys think that they might go with 11 relievers? Like, do you think this was all just a move to like have one more bullpen piece?
I can see it.
I was gonna say that it makes sense. Like in my mind, you don't have the 2 spots on the lineup that are going to be occupied by catcher now. You're not going to be DHing a catcher, as much. That seemed like it was a possibility. Was that you're gonna, Jansen's going to start and Kirk's going to DH that game, right? I think that they've made this also opens up the possibility that DH gets to be a more fluid position that everybody gets a piece at, So and with Greg Bird as well, you get that concept of that DH actually being a DH sometimes, and then being a rest stop where you're not throwing 2 catchers out in the lineup on a daily basis.
100%.
That was a great point with the with Kirk DHing, because as it was up until 2 hours ago, I guess the plan was Jansen and Kirk split most of the catching, Jansen and McGuire split most of the catching duties. But in order to get Kirk in the lineup as a hitter, he would be our primary DH, I suppose. So now we get Jansen probably catching 4 games a week, and then have Kirk in for the other 2 or something like that, right? So, like you said, it's just a win all the way around. Like it frees up a spot, like
some roster
on the
flexibility is a
28-man
big
roster.
deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, because that
Collins
DH.
was not-
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, and we're going to get a motivated Collins. Collins didn't have a path to more at bats. Thank God Yasmani Grandal there. He didn't have a path to more at bats. Now he's got 2 catchers in front of him, yes, but every darn day, if we went on Twitter right now, there's another 17 rumors about where Kirk's getting traded to anyway. So Collins could be seeing an increase in playing time here anyway.
Another little interesting thing that I've kind of watched over the last 2 weeks of spring training is there is an actual battle going on for the left-handed spots available in this bullpen. Right? Like, you got to figure Mays is there for sure. Vasquez signed a major league contract, so he's got options, but he's most likely there for sure. I mean, they're paying him major league money. You'd think that, the fight between Baraki and Sasado, like Sasado's been incredible this spring. You'd think he's got options too, so maybe this isn't quite the crunch that I'm making it out to be, but, do you want 4 to 5 lefties in the bullpen? Maybe this is just clearing space to bring that extra guy. I don't know.
Well, Sasado was on absolute fire until somebody on this panel jinxed him earlier. So if anyone wants to admit to that.
Oh, yeah. 2 outs, right? He just finished getting a ground ball and a strikeout, and I'm on Twitter. I'm like, Sasado's just been a ground ball king all spring. Striking more guys out than last year, literally next at bat. Like, walk, hit, like, loads the bases. I'm like, great.
We got a note here from the YouTube chat. It says, Mantis Toboggan, by the way. So a great Danny DeVito reference there in the username.
Oh, beautiful.
Dr. Mantis Toboggan.
Yes, by the way, that's right. There's some respect on his name. Good call.
So Dr. Mantis Toboggan says he thinks he read that Ryan Baraki is hurt. So I think I read that somewhere
hamstring.
too.
I think it's a hamstring strain, but they said he's still hoping to play opening day, but still in the conversation is what the notes on Twitter said this morning.
Oh, maybe we move him to the IL, and that
I was just gonna say that does give an
flexibility
option.
for a couple weeks to figure stuff out, right? So
yeah.
That might not be the worst thing in the world.
Thank God baseball actually decided to go with 28 man rosters to start this season. Like, what a grind. Like, this was one thing on Friday Adam and I were talking about on the podcast is the Jays are playing 30 games in 31 days.
Yeah.
Like, they have one off day from April 8th till May 9th. That's crazy.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
I did read also, just while we're talking pitcher injuries, Nate Pearson not expected to start the season at the MLB
He's
level.
sick, I guess.
He's got some sort of illness.
And then also we've got Jordan Romano, who
Romano, yeah.
rolled his ankle walking his dog. So that's about as Robbie Ray of an injury as it
Yeah.
gets, right? And that worked out great. So
It's the Alec Manoa falling down the dugout stairs at Fenway
Yeah.
injury. Yeah.
Keep that dog away from the rest of the team.
I bet you it's like a chihuahua or something too. So didn't he like yank on him? He just like
It's a
misstepped.
big boy.
Yeah.
Didn't Glenn Allen Hill fall down some steps after he thought he had a nightmare about spiders? Like,
I don't know. I haven't heard this.
Glenn Allen Hill carved himself to shreds, having a nightmare.
He fell through, like a
carved
table.
himself to shreds
yeah, like he oh, there you go. So
with
Wow.
the razor. With the
Wow.
razor, he was sleepwalking. He thought they were all over his face, and he was cutting like crazy.
Jeez.
I feel guilty
and that-
even laughing
we got
at
a
that
history.
story.
We got a history of crazy stuff happening with it.
Wow. All right.
But back to Baraki, guys, it's so heartbreaking. We always have great energy on the show. I love it. We've never had more energy, and our spirits have never been more
Yeah.
buoyed than when Anthony Telford said, "Can I tell you guys who's looking real good right now in this offseason is Ryan Baraki." We all
Yeah.
rejoiced. That was a
Yeah.
big deal for us. And to have it to be where it is now, my goodness. His stuff is so real. That's what frustrates me. His stuff is so real. And he's not in a spot on this Blue Jay team where the Blue Jays can play these little reindeer games. You just laid it out, Scott. This is a laundry list of legit lefties on this team right now.
Yeah,
So Baraki's up against it, and he's up against it.
No options left either.
No options.
Yeah, when we were talking before the injury, I think last week we were speculating that might just be the difference maker between him and Sacedo making the team this year. Even if Sacedo's outperforming him, it's just the fact of that option manipulation, right? So
I mean, if the bullpen last year proved anything, Sacedo's going to get his shot. They're all going to get their shot, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's
We need to stay by our
bullpen
phone.
management
We might
across
call.
the league, right? Is you use AAA as your extended bullpen at this point, right? Because nobody wants to pitch past 6 innings, so you need all that option manipulation in order to make it work.
6 innings is called going the distance, Adam.
Yeah, I think so.
My
the
gosh.
thing that I was going to bring up was that we're seeing that shift from the old school concept of a 7th inning guy, an 8th inning guy, and a 9th inning guy, and now teams look at it situationally. Teams look at it. They look at the at bats. They look at who's coming up, and they go, "I need this guy in now. I'm not waiting to bring him in for 7, 8, 9 just because it's the 9th." And you see that in Atlanta. Like, look who Atlanta has coming out of their bullpen now. They have Will Smith, Kenley Jansen, Kirby Yates is on the team. And if Kirby Yates comes back healthy from Tommy John, and then you've got Tyler Matzik, you've got 4 closers there. Those guys would close for other teams. So you have this concept that closing happens situationally now in a game, as opposed to in a specific inning. And I think that the Jays are having to shift to that concept, right? Because that is the more present day concept of how you run a bullpen.
That's such a great point, Comment. I've always preferred that, and I always thought we were going to end up here because it never made sense to me. And I remember doing an interview, and Pat Hankin got up off the table and came over and gave me a hug. He's like, "Thank my God, finally," because he goes nuts with this whole theory of how everything is so structured. Guys, the game's not always on the line in the 9th inning. How about when the 3, 4, and 5 are up in the 8th inning, and the setup man who has the easier job comes in? Now we turn it over to the 9th inning for the 7th, 8th, 9th hitter, and here comes the closer blowing everybody away. So I'm right there with Kami. This is part of the analytics. The analytics is showing the game is not always on the line in the 9th inning. My God, you're going to need big outs in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. That's why I value a guy like Merriweather. Merriweather can come in and miss bats in the 6th, the 7th, or the 8th. A veteran like David Phelps can come in and get you big outs in the 6th, the 7th, or 8th. I value that not the luxury, what's the word I'm looking for? The versatility of those arms, of those guys in the bullpen right now.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. And your ideal situation is if Nate is healthy, he's potentially a 2-inning piece. Every third day you've got a 2-inning piece that can come out throw 100 miles an hour. You have to look at it structurally on how you can attack each individual game and how that game comes to you, as opposed to some structured concept that the 9th inning you need a clean. Oh, you're up 3 and you get a save.
Yeah,
the game was on the line earlier. You should have used that guy 4 outs right here to cut down that core of the lineup.
Yeah, sometimes the bases are loaded in the 5th inning when you're up by 1. You got to bring your best reliever in to get the last out, right? It's just you bring in your best pitcher when the situation calls for it. And I think that's why that sounds like the save and the pitcher win are just they're great for fantasy baseball, but they're not great in reality anymore.
That's a great point.
It's meant to. You got to bring your best guys in. You want your number 3 hitter up when there's 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and you want your closer up when the other team's best hitters are at the plate or the situation calls for it. Yeah.
And you want your number 1 going against their number 1 in the rotation, right?
Always.
And Justin, it was never anybody in baseball who created these stats. It was the
yeah.
agents who needed to figure out metrics to get their guys paid.
Yeah. No, it's
got to score it some way. Okay, so I just want to pause here quickly and welcome another new guest to the show. So a familiar face, I'm sure everyone on YouTube will recognize the man in the Blue Jays cap there joining us. So big welcome to Jim from Ballcap Sports. Welcome, Jim, joining us a little bit late, but we appreciate you making it to the show tonight. How you doing?
I'm good, Adam. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay? Are my audio levels all right?
We can hear you just fine.
Perfect. I'm dealing with a little bit of a grogginess. I was up late last night down in Steve Weiser's with Wrestlemania, so I'm still kind of coming back from that.
Of course. Well, you got Wrestlemania on the brain. What do you think of the social media influencers that they brought out this year?
You mean Logan Paul and
Pat McAfee?
Well, McAfee's been the SmackDown co-host for a while now,
right?
So,
and he's got a background in wrestling more than anything,
right? So, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like tonight. You've got Knoxville. You got 2 gimmick matches tonight, right? With Knoxville's match and the McAfee match. So I guess 3 is overload. I'll put it that way. They're usually good for like 1. They have 3 this year. It seems like it's a little bit of a little much this year.
I gotta give it a little bit of a tip of the hat though that they're trying something, right, to bring in the new audience, right? And we were just talking off the start of the show with the MLB and their Home Run Derby X that they're doing, right? Like you got to do something, and I mean, who's bigger right now than Logan Paul? As much as we all hate him, I mean,
and WWE's always done that. Right, going back to Mr. T and Mike Tyson and all they WrestleMania. Last year it was I can't remember who the
Gronkowski last year. Or was that the year before?
Say it again.
Rob Gronkowski.
That I think was the year before. He was the host. He was one of the hosts. Right. Okay. No, there was
Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar.
It was Gronk hosted in 2021 when it was pandemic and there was basically nobody there. It was the worst WrestleMania ever. But it was I can't remember who it was. It was a performer, but every year they roll out another performer to try to cross over and bring in that person's fan base.
I think it's good. I mean, the MLB needs to do more of that stuff, like with the All-Star game at the having the celebrity softball. Like I know they do it, but they don't really televise it. Like there's just so much stuff that the MLB is like doing anyways, but not giving the fans a chance to watch, right? So it's.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, some kind of interaction like that would be good. Whether it is taking the celebrity softball game to a new level, whether it is trying to do some kind of home run derby with. Or skills competition or something with some really major influencers wouldn't be a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say my Mania memory. And first of all, it's good to see Jim. I only know Jim from him yelling at me on Twitter, so it's good to put a face there and an epic setup background. My goodness, the first bet I lost in my life, and what a path this put me on, gentlemen. Wrestlemania 1. I bet everybody in my school. I was in grade 4, I want to say. I bet the whole school that Piper and Orndorff would win, because to me it made sense that they would cheat some sort of nefarious victory over Hogan and Mr. T, and that would set up WrestleMania 2. And I thought, oh my God, that's the first bet I ever lost. And that Monday at school, it was the first time ever. You ever seen a kid making it rain? It was just a lineup. It was just a lineup of people because I owed it.
That's funny. Well, we did talk right off the start here, Jim. I just want to get your thoughts on it before we move on to the next one here. But what are your thoughts on this MLB Home Run Derby X? Is there anything you like about it, dislike about it? How are you feeling about it?
I'm kind of I don't and I don't know, maybe this, I'm not sure what you guys were thinking. So I don't have a thought on it. And I think that might be part of the problem. And maybe I'm just missing it. And I totally could. There's a lot going on here. I got limited bandwidth, so I have not been able to add Home Run Derby X in. But all I got from it, the gist I got from it, was that it's Johnny Gomes, it's Adrian Gonzalez, it's Nick Swisher. It's a bunch of baseball players I haven't thought about in a really long time that are going to be trying to be hitting home runs, all around. And I don't know. It doesn't get me. It doesn't get me excited. And you've got other participants too, I know, but I don't know who any of these people are either. Maybe I should, but I don't know who Ashton Lansdell is, or Alex Hughes, or Liv Cook. Again, maybe I should, but I just
general consensus on the panel before you joined us was that we're all kind of like a little bit confused by it, but we also think that like at least it's a sign baseball is willing to do something to stay alive, I guess is the best way to put it, right?
This is the trouble. So you really need to have somebody, if you're willing to do this stuff, you gotta. Why is WrestleMania so big? It's because Vince McMahon is behind it, and Vince McMahon shoots for the moon. Here with Home Run Derby X, it's probably a marketing department full of people, and it just, that's what it is. It's not, but there is not some big egotistic personality that is thinking about how everyone's going to judge them on what they do. So they got to go way beyond your expectations. So it is, like you said, it's on the right track, but I feel like it just kind of misses. I just feel like it kind of misses the mark.
I almost would have loved to have heard that marketing meeting where they're like, Nick Swisher's available.
Yeah.
Right. And then somebody should say, stop. Yes, exactly. We're done. Nick Swisher's okay, great. We're done. Let's table this and let's figure out a way to go to a new level here.
Interesting
baseball saved.
Interesting point though, the difference between baseball and wrestling, right? Like where you've got the one ego of Vince McMahon. I know he's got a team that helps him, right? But like ultimately it's his fragile ego that needs to be pleased. And when you do have like a big team mass, probably 200 plus people working on a project, there's almost no accountability when everybody is collectively hidden behind something. So
right.
I feel obligated to go the complete opposite route of WrestleMania because I stopped watching wrestling for the last 22 years because of Vince McMahon, because of all that entertainment shit. What got me back to wrestling was Kenny Omega, the greatest pro wrestler on the planet, Canadian, AEW. I'm a huge AEW mark. And what did they do? They put pro wrestling on the show for 90 minutes, 90 minutes of that show was pro wrestling. They don't try to bring in a bunch of other stuff and appease a bunch of other people.
Okay, but if we're doing a gimmicky like 4-team home run circuit where we're pairing up quote unquote legends with like social media people and a superstar female player and whatever. Like I know these are all villains.
And Nick Swisher.
And this is where like it goes off the rails for me, right? It's like give me Barry Bonds, give me A-Rod, give me Ken Griffey Jr., right?
Oh my God. Could you imagine? They would never do this. Could you imagine Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, take all the steroid guys from the 90s and do a home run derby today? Whatever you want. How much do you want? You want $10 million, Barry Bonds? Here's your money. Let's go.
Oh my God. We should just do this. Not even through the MLB. None of these guys, they're all banned from the MLB anyway.
Winner gets a Hall of Fame.
Winner gets into Hall of Fame. Yes. I love it.
We just solved it. We just solved it, guys. All right. Well, that's the episode.
We saved it.
That's the episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Living on a high.
We just saved baseball. All right. No, it's a lot of fun.
That's a great idea. Winner gets a Hall of Fame bus.
It's a home run legend, Nick Swisher, though. That's the only problem.
And the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah. All right. Well,
how many home runs did Nick Swisher hit in his career? Does anybody even have a guess?
6.
I mean,
it's got to be under 200, right?
It's over. It is over. It's
Over
245. 245. And I probably would have guessed under 200 as well. But I just looking it up, it was 245. And I wouldn't have thought it was that high.
Interesting. All right.
Nick Swisher really sells tickets, right?
Man, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, though. That's That's a home run derby I'm tuning into for sure. For sure, we're doing it.
Exactly.
Jose Canseco announces it, but he doesn't hit.
That would be great.
But he's the guy on the field talking to them.
Yes.
Canseco and Pete Rose are out there. Let's just get the whole villains, Suicide Squad style.
Yeah, this is Suicide Squad. I love it.
All right. Well, let's pivot from that now. We've got we covered the Reese McGuire news. Let's talk long shot predictions for the AL, the NL, and the Blue Jays. So, Scott, let's start with you. AL specific, what is your big bold prediction for the American League this year? It could be a team, it can be a player in specific. What do you got?
So my big bold prediction this year, and I'm probably going to wind up eating it, but that's why it's a long shot prediction. But my prediction is that the Tampa Bay Rays actually take a step back this year and aren't in the playoffs.
Wow. That is a big prediction. Craig already holding his head. Craig, what do you think of that one?
Craig's like, he's jinxing it. Now they're going to win it all. This is Taylor Cicero, but bigger stakes all over again.
No, yeah. Well, let's just we can move on. I'm not on that page. Let's just go ahead and short and sweet. I'm not on that page.
All right.
That's
well,
fair.
if you're not on that page, Craig, what is your prediction for the American League this year?
I think the team that everybody is sleeping on. Now, first of all, real quick, and we can do a deep dive if you want, but the Blue Jays will not miss Robbie Ray near as much as what you might think on the surface. I think there's an absolute argument to be made that they've gotten better, in fact, with Kevin Gausman, at the very least, as good with Kevin Gausman. But I'm going to set my sights over in the AL West. Nobody's talking about this Anaheim team. I think this Anaheim team is excellent. I think they're going to be in the mix for the division. I can tell you right now, they're going to be a surprise playoff team this season, especially with the expanded playoffs. They got a lot of guys coming back from injury. They're going to, God help them, if Thor still has something left, they're going to ask Thor to be like their number 4 or 5 starter. Like, imagine that at the back of the rotation, the who shall not be named, because I still can't believe we traded him. Anyway, I won't rant on that. But yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm saying Anaheim out there in the West going to be very strong.
Okay. I like it. Justin, how about yourself?
Greg, I should have went before you because you stole mine. I was going to say Angels win the AL West, but I'll do something different. I'm going to say that Cleveland gets the second wild card spot in the American League.
Ooh. Knocking out the Rays, maybe.
The second wild card spot, not even the third, the second.
All right, and Joel, how about yourself? AL teams.
It's weird because it's all revolves around Anaheim. But I was going to say in the core of the season, if Anaheim is firing, I was going to say that Ohtani shifts into a bullpen closer role, and you manage his innings a little bit more like that. You know, you look at it weekly and trying to get him 4 innings per week as opposed to weirdly spots starting him throughout. You try to get more consistency for their rotation, and then you build him up later in the season as a starter, for, potentially those playoff starts. You get his arm going back in, September, and you make that transition. That was kind of my big one. I was also going to say, this is really, really bold, but I'm going to say, if they can't get a deal done right, like toot sweet, Aaron Judge might be traded.
Yeah, Joel's over here playing 4D chess with the Ohtani innings thing over here. I like it.
Well, I don't know what's the bigger prediction there. Ohtani goes to the bullpen or Aaron Judge gets traded, but those are bold predictions for sure. Jim, how about yourself? AL prediction.
Oh man, I'm trying to pick one. I've got too many that I could. And this, okay, here we go. I'm going to say, and this may not even be a bold prediction, but that the Twins do not make the playoffs. Period. After the Carlos Correa signing, after the Sonny Gray trade, I think it's not enough. I think Carlos Correa could play 100 games this year, and if he misses that much of the season, that Minnesota is going to. Also, you've got a Byron Buxton injury history there. So with their 2 star players offensively, both with injury histories, that could creep up. They've only got really one pitcher that I trust, Sonny Gray. Right now, Dylan Bundy looks like the number 2, which is dangerous. So I say I'll go that the Twins do not make the playoffs. I mean, all of the playoff teams could come out of the American League East. So, well, let me say the wild card teams could come out of the American League East. So I say the Twins will miss the playoffs, and Carlos Correa will be very sad.
I like where your head's at. My prediction is very similar to that. The Twins are bad. Carlos Correa, however, still makes the playoffs, and he does it back with the Astros as he gets traded. So
I guess the good thing about having that opt out is that after 1 year, is if they're doing bad, they can just trade them to somebody.
They really can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if he'll actually go back to Houston, but I mean, we'll see. I don't think he finishes the year with the Twins, and I'll say.
While we're talking bold predictions too, and I don't think this is that bold, and I am curious what you gentlemen think though. Mike Trout seems to be like the forgotten, like, superstar of baseball, you know. But I can definitely see him having a monster year this year, staying healthy, and which of course would coincide well with your guys' thoughts on the Angels possibly being the best team in the AL West. So, yeah, I don't know. I see big things out of Mike Trout this year, which again isn't a bold statement, but yeah.
I think Mike Trout's gonna be good. Hot take.
Mike Trout Revenge Tour 2022.
Yeah, I love it. Mike Revenge Tour. Yeah.
All right, let's
I think
pivot
it
now
has a
slightly.
lot.
Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
I was just say, I think it has a lot to do with whether you have a Pujols, Upton, and then Rendon. If Rendon follows in the suit of those big contracts that they've thrown down, there's so much on Anthony Rendon as well, right? They signed him as a 1030 OPS third baseman at like 29. He came in, had a good 50 game stretch. Then last year, he's not running anymore. He hits no more. He hits in the, they replaced Pujols' double plays with Rendon's double plays. So that's a really big thing. Is he hitting around 7? Is his OPS 720? His defense faltering? He can't run? Or is he step it up and become the guy that they paid him 200 more money than Pujols, right? So that's a big deal with him.
Yeah.
All right.
I got one more here.
Go ahead, Craig.
Just one more bold prediction here. I've said it. I just want to reiterate. Jose Barrios and Alek Manoah, both in the top 10 for Cy Young voting this season. This time next year, I don't think any of us were in a draft where Alek Manoah went in the first round. He will be the Corbin Burns. He will be the one people are salivating over next season. I'm a big believer that the MLB is not ready for Alek Manoah. Not that they don't know, like he's becoming a household name. He's going to be an absolute household name. MLB is not ready for how good Alek Manoah is going to be, and it starts this season.
Love it. All right, let's pivot to
Lance Lynn to me, Craig. I 100% agree. I see Lance Lynn when I watch that guy. It's just a bulldog. Sorry.
Let's now pivot to the NL. Bold predictions for the NL. Let's go in the same order. Scott, let's start with you. Big bold prediction for the NL. Go ahead.
Okay, well, my big bold prediction for the NL is I think that Luis Castillo is going to win the Cy Young Award in the National League. I think he's poised to do so, 30 years old. I think that this is all going to be based on health as it is with most starting pitchers, but I love the guy's stuff, and I think he's ready for that next step. Again, this is bold predictions. This isn't what I actually would bet money on.
All right. That's fair. Craig?
But I'm having a deja vu here. In the Walkoff fantasy baseball draft, one of the 16 owners was brilliant enough to land Luis Castillo. Who was that? It was just right, it was me. Right, it was me.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay. My prediction is going to be, and I think they're not out of sight, out of mind, but there was so much hype last year with San Diego. They didn't even finish 500, so I think people aren't willing to reboard that train. Man, I'm reboarding that train this season. I think the San Diego Padres are going to be awesome. Of all the jerks in that Yankee clubhouse, somehow Luke Voigt was the one that was the bridge too far and had to be jettisoned. Like, I don't even get it. Get him away to San Diego. The Manaea edition today. Clevenger's going to be back in wrecking shop. They've got Mackenzie Gore, a lefty, throwing absolute gas. Can't find innings for this guy. That's how deep San Diego is. I'm a big believer. Of course, at some point, Fernando Tatis about to walk back through that door as well. So I really like the Padres this season to make big noise in the West.
All right, 2 questions for you on that note, Craig. Who plays more games this year, Fernando Tatis Jr. or George Springer?
Oh my goodness. You're all going to be, I was noticing today, Joel's got his hair, Adam took his head off, everyone's got big, beautiful hair. Exactly right. You're all going to be me if the answer to that is not George Springer. If we have a second straight season of this crap, you're all going to be pulling your hair out. So let's hope that answer is George Springer.
All right, I like it. Well, I think with the trade of Reese McGuire today, and that opens up the DH spot like we were talking with allowing Kirk to get some more catching role duties today. I think that does nothing but help George Springer and his health and his long-term prospects for the season. So I hope you're right, and I think you will be. Justin, let's move to you now. NL bold prediction.
Yeah, I got kind of two, but they're all about the same team. The Mets are going to miss the playoffs.
Great
and Jacob DeGrom is going to start less than 10 games for them. Jacob DeGrom, less than 10 games started this year.
Less than 10. All right. We're going to talk. We're going to talk to DeGrom and the Mets pitching staff at depth in a little bit here, but I like where your head's at. I think that's not even that bold of a prediction, so that's good.
Based on what I'm seeing on Twitter, it's very bold. Oh my god.
Well, those New York fans, right?
They're very sane. I'll say that.
All right. And Jim, how about yourself? NL bold prediction.
Well, I'm kind of bouncing a couple of different ideas back and forth here. Let me go. I'm trying to settle on one. Let me say, because a bold prediction that I've got kind of goes against. Again, these are bold, right? So this doesn't have to necessarily be in line with other predictions that have been given. Can we all just make that ground rule here? Mets win the NL East. Bye, everybody. That's it. Good night. See you later. Here is how I think it could happen.
Okay.
The Braves are obviously the favorite, and I have the Braves winning the National League East. But I've also in-depth looked at the Braves, and I worry about Mike Soroka is not going to be back until much later in the year. You have one of their key bullpen pieces have already gone down. Now, they restacked the bullpen, which is smart because from year to year, bullpens, you don't know if you're going to get the same kind of performance from year to year. So it was smart to go out and get McHugh and Jansen. But as far as the starters go, Soroka's already down. If you lose Max, Ian, or Charlie, any of those three, then you go down to just really two starters that you can count on. And you're looking for, you're looking for Davidson, you're looking for Wright, you're looking for other pitchers that haven't shown you that they can be dependable as your 3, 4, and 5. That is a worse situation than the Mets, I believe, are in right now, because DeGrom should be back. Now, there could be setbacks and all that. But, Max, part of it is Buck Showalter. I think that Buck, this is just managers. People that say managers don't matter need to look at what's going on right now. He's a calming presence. The sky isn't falling. It's just raining. So Buck Showalter is the calming presence that team needs. If Rojas was still there and all of this was going on, it would already be over for the Mets. So Buck is a big part of that. Hoping that DeGrom is back. I do love a lot of the pieces that they added. Escobar, Marte, and Canna. I really like those three. So I'm going to say that. Now, again, it is not my official prediction. I still think that the Braves are the way to go. But if we're looking for long shots, I can see a path. I can see things happening that lead the Mets to a National League East by one game over.
So, Jim, I'm curious then. Is 88 games going to win the NL East again?
Maybe that's what it needs to be.
Could be.
In this scenario, I think we're looking at low 90s. They are going to really beat up on each other this year. Those three teams are really going to beat up on each other.
That's a good point. All right, Joel, let's move to you now. NL, bold prediction.
Grichuk's at the All-Star game.
Love it.
He's a multi-million.
That's bold.
The rest of us, why not?
Love it.
It's going to be hard to deny him when he's on a 40 home run pace this year. So
Yep. Rich Chicks at the All-Star game. That's my bold
All
prediction.
right, I like it. Short and
Let's
sweet.
go. Let's go.
And then we
one step
talk about
further.
the face plant Grisha cat in the second half.
No,
Yeah,
let's
he
go.
wins
Let's
the
go this
home
way.
run derby and then doesn't hit another one in the second half of the season.
I said All-Star game. He's the All-Star. I only have to have a half.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
And my prediction is that Albert Pujols does in fact get to 700 this year, hit 700 home runs, and just for fun, Major League Baseball includes Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera at the home run derby this year.
Love it.
They have juiced balls when those two swing, though. Just as a face-saving measure. All right, let's now go to something more specific. For
Did we
Blue
get
Jays.
Justin's NL?
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
The
Oh,
Mets
yeah.
were gonna miss the
right,
playoffs.
right.
And
Mets.
DeGrom
So
The
I'm
miss
sure walking
before the
around
make.
having a beer, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so now big bold prediction for the Blue Jays specifically in 2022. Scott, let's go with you.
I'm going to go with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has a huge year and actually has a 25-game hit streak within this season. We've seen him put together some major hit streaks before. I know that he hit multi-hit games for 13 games in a row before he was injured in 2000, I think it was 20. We saw him get really hot last year, again, kind of derailed by injuries. So I really do think that this is a guy on the Jays that maybe gets overlooked a little because he is so hot and cold, but because of that hot and cold, when he's hot, he's very hot, and I do see him being able to put together something super impressive like a 25-game hit streak.
Love it. Craig, how about yourself?
Bold predictions again.
Yeah, of course.
Reaffirming
It's in
there.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Mine is nowhere near as attractive as that. I think at some point in the season, on a long toss episode, somebody's going to make an aside of. And by the way, thank goodness for the season Ross Stripling's putting together. This guy's been versatile. He's making hot cards. I mean, I'm not even kidding.
No, I don't doubt it. I actually love this
guy
prediction.
nobody's talking about. The only time we've ever seen Kikuchi do well is when he had a sixth starter. That was in the first half of Seattle last season. You guys have mentioned the schedule. There's no days off. I'm waiting by my phone to see if the Blue Jays need me to throw a few innings. Like that's how great. That's the one Blue Jay of all. Even Tapia, even guys like that are getting more press than Stripling. But I don't know. It's not bold. It's not sexy. It's not anything like that. But I just see a role for Ross Stripling. I think I've already done my sexier ones with Manoah and Barrios each being in the top 10 for Cy Young voting. That's probably a little more attractive.
Love it. Okay, Justin, how about yourself? Blue Jays.
Craig. No, I agree with you. My co-host Patrick and I have been talking about likely implementing maybe a 6-man rotation in April, with Stripling being a guy who would obviously be probably the number 6 guy. So agree with you there. My bold prediction, I was trying to think of something just like super edgy. I'm going to say Kevin Biggio hits 25 home runs and steals 30 bases this year.
Whoa.
I'm a Kevin Biggio like stan. Him and Danny Jansen are my boys. By the way, if Danny Jansen hits 2 home runs in a game this year, I'm buying his jersey. I tweet that every time he hits a home run in a game. It hasn't happened yet. So I'm just going to put it out there again, Danny, if you're listening. But yeah, no, Kevin Biggio is going to hit 25 and steal over 30 bases. So I think he's going to play pretty much full time.
I hope you're right. I hope he's healthy, and I hope he
Me too.
is full-time second baseman. We're big Kevin Biggio stands on this channel as well. So hopefully a big year for Mr. Kevin Biggio. Now, Jim, how about yourself? Blue Jays, bold predictions 2022. Go ahead.
I think that these two pitchers will be compared to each other throughout, and it'll be Robbie Ray and Kevin Gausman. And I think Kevin Gausman outpitches Robbie Ray this year.
I like it. I'm right there with you.
I agree.
With Gausman was this the third time they were trying to get Kevin Gausman. So, Pete Walker has been salivating to get his hands on Kevin Gausman for years. He finally does. Robbie Ray, we have seen there are metrics that point to maybe the Blue Jays knew exactly what they were doing by not bringing back Robbie Ray. So there are some questions there when we talk about strand rates, when we talk about
Two
strike
pitches.
zone, there's control, all that. There is a chance.
Two pitches.
There's a chance he does not have the same type of year, and I think that's why the Jays made the choice, because they signed for basically the same contract. I think it was just off by a couple $1 million. They chose Gausman. I think Gausman outperforms Robbie Ray.
None of us want to crap on Ray. There's reason to love Ray.
There's no ill will. You're right.
Yep.
They pick her name out of a hat for a Cy Young. Let's acknowledge that. But if we're doing what we do here on the Long Toss, we're doing a deep dive, and we're just calling it the way we see it. August and September, the Blue Jays were 7-7 in Robbie Ray starts. When it was go time, think of the Jays' record in August and September. They were winning every damn game.
Yeah.
7-7 in Robbie Ray starts, significantly better with everybody else. And so I love that prediction, Jim. And what we're really going to see this year is, as soon as Ray hits adversity, because last year when he hit adversity, Pete Walker was right there to right that ship. How about now? How about now? I think it's going to be much different. I love your point as well about, Pete Walker's been drooling. He's been waiting to get his hands on Kevin Gausman in this pitch as well. I absolutely sounds so odd to say, right, guys? It's a Cy Young winner walking out the door, and we're sitting here saying no sweat. But honestly, maybe no sweat is too far. But on the surface, it's not going to be anywhere damning as it would appear when you lose a Cy Young winner.
Getting Gausman, man, literally
exactly.
Just all my anxiety about losing Ray went to the wayside the second that they signed Gausman. The fact that he was a dude that they were hunting down, I know Jim touched on it. You know, Walker's been after him for years. Even the fact that it's been a couple years in a row where the Blue Jays were trying to kick tires on him and get him to come earlier, says a lot of what that front office thought about him for years. Yeah. Experience in the AL East, that crazy splitter, what's not to like?
What's not to like? He's got the flow. He'll fit right in.
That's right.
All right, Joel. How about yourself with the Blue Jays 2022 predictions?
Bo Bichette wins the MVP.
Wow.
I think Bo actually had a down year last year, to Bo's standards. That doesn't sound like that. What? Bo had a down year? Yeah, he hit 299. He hit 29 home runs. He had the most runs. He had the most hits. I feel like he thought he had a down year. I don't think he ever felt like he was firing on all cylinders until the end of the year. He felt like he was treading water. I feel like there's another 60 points to his OPS. I feel like the defense that showed off in the last 45 games, if he puts that defense together, he is the best shortstop in baseball at the end of the year, and he's drafted number one.
You know what stands out to me about what you're saying, Joel, is that you say he thinks that he had a down year, and I believe that. Think about the mentality of a player like that who leads the league in hits and is like, damn it, I'm just off.
And he's playing at home all season with that fan base behind him. I think there's a lot more to Bo Bichette.
I love it. Jim, what do you got to say?
I also think, remember last year, it was Marcus Semien was hitting in front of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and that really excelled Semien. Now it's probably going to be Bo hitting in front of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So Bo will see even better pitches. Bo will score more runs than he was when he was hitting behind Vladdy, because that's just how when Springer was bright, you went Springer, Semien, Vladdy, and Bo. Now you put Bo in front of Vladdy, and that's huge. That's why I think the Blue Jays should actually hit Matt Chapman in front of Vladdy, so you can supercharge Matt Chapman's bat, but it's most likely going to be Bo. I think we can all agree that it will be Bo. I think that will help the case for him to.
Does anyone have a difference of opinion in that? Does everyone kind of have Bo slotted into that 2-hole? Craig, I know you do.
Yeah,
I don't
got him there, number 2.
I don't know. I've liked when they've put Vladdy in the 2-hole in spring training. I think we've seen Springer have a great spring, the games that he's played in, right? The big league games he's played in. I don't know. I kind of like putting Vladdy in that 2-hole because you get him an extra at bat as soon as 2 guys get on base every game, right? We're not really worried about that with this team, but the more times you can get Vladdy to the plate, the better it is. And Bo did better in the number 4 hole than he did in the number 2 hole last year by far. It wasn't even close.
Isn't it insane how spoiled we are as Blue Jays fans? Yeah. The truth is we could take Springer, Bo, Vladdy, and Teo, put their names in a hat, and whatever 4 you draw out, it's going to probably wash out the same by the end of the year.
It's an embarrassment of riches. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but I have Vladdy in the 2-hole. I have Bo hitting 3, and I have Teoscar in 4 personally. But that's just how I see it. I think by putting those guys there, then Teoscar's going to get pitches to hit as well too. When there's going to be somebody on base when he comes up, it's almost a certainty with those three superstars ahead of him, and he's no slouch himself the last 2 seasons. So I don't know. I've got Vladdy 2-hole myself.
And you were talking about Simeon and filling that spot of Simeon now. I feel like when you brought in Simeon, and Simeon was supposed to transition his mentality and his concepts of being that great, stable shortstop. You saw that literally in the last 50 games of last season. You saw that defense. And if he's capable of that defense, 1 error in 45 games to end the season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're combining that with 35 home runs, 310 batting average, 135, 140 runs, like that's what you're looking at the end of the year. So I think that that's possible for a guy who feels like he was treading water last year and got MVP votes, right? Like it's pretty incredible. I think there's more to his game, 100%.
All right. I like all those thoughts on Mr. Bo Bichette. I think too, as much as nobody takes him for granted, he did a little bit live in Vladdy's shadow last year because of what Vladdy did. So I don't think chip on his shoulder is the right term to use to describe the way he feels. But I mean, he did turn down the Blue Jays like raise system that they offered, right? And just took the default league minimum there. I do think Bo Bichette has a massive season this year, so that's good. As far as my bold predictions for Blue Jays, I think Jordan Romano has an elite year this year as our closer. I mean he's good. I think we're all confident with him in the closing role. We were talking about what does that even mean anymore? But I think he just has a dominant year from start to finish, and I think by the end of the year he's in that like top 5, top 3 discussion with the rest of those guys like a Josh Hader or
that would be amazing.
Hendricks or anything like that. I think he's just gonna take that job and just absolutely run with it. So,
well, he followed Robbie Ray's path to success by getting injured, right? Right.
Yes, silly injury at the start of the year. That is the strategy there. But no,
Robbie Ray's secret to success. Yes.
I think my real bold prediction here though is that Danny Jansen is offensively a top 5 catcher.
My guy.
2022.
Love it.
So I think I see him playing, like as long as he stays healthy, I see him playing 100+ games at catcher, and I think he's a 20+ home run guy at that point. He's having a good spring training. He finished last season as hot as we've ever seen Danny Jansen play. I think he carries it over into this year. I mean, spring training stats don't mean anything, but I mean, he's hitting close to 300 right now. And I'm all in on Danny Jansen, have been since last September, and I don't see any reason to turn that away.
Since last September.
Yeah, truly. Yeah.
Hey,
Adam,
take what I can get, right?
In September, and this guy had a flipping 707 slugging percentage in September. That's video game numbers.
That's very sustainable too.
Yeah.
Very sustainable.
100% sustainable.
Yeah, there's room to regress and have him still be a great hitting catcher.
He could still have the 600 OPS slugging percentage and just regress a little bit.
Relative to catchers, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of catchers that are just mashing, right? So top 5 catcher is not saying he's going to get MVP votes, right? But I think that he's going to put a lot of the questions to bed about Danny Jansen being a capable catcher. I think he's great defensively, and I think this year we start to see it offensively come around and put it all together.
And look, he could hit 210 and his on base is going to be 320. So, I mean, he does take walks.
I think he's the perfect like roll the order over guy in that 9 spot, and I think he's going to really thrive. And in a weird way, his bat is protected by the fact that they've got George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vladdy coming up right after him, right? So I think he's going to see some good pitches this year. But Jim, look, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody, because I haven't, and I'm seeing this. Is there any explanation? Was there any talk as to why he hit as well as he did in that last? I mean, it was 20 games down the stretch, 310 average, the 707 slugging. What was going on?
He came back from injury. Came off the DL and just
no. But I'm saying for his career, what is he? He's a two something hitter. He's a 212. He's a 212 hitter for his career. and he hit 310 in that last month. And I'm wondering if I would love to hear. I don't know if anyone heard anything from Montoyo or during a broadcast, maybe picked it up. I missed it. What he was doing differently, whether he was seeing the ball, whether he took his glasses off, started wearing contacts. I'm wondering what the little thing was, if there was a little thing that turned him into he was hitting really good that last month of the season.
So I'm going to completely guess here. So if anyone actually has actual data or anything,
go ahead.
But what about the thought of how much stronger that Blue Jays rotation was at the end of the year, and the fact that there was a much higher level of comfortability with those starters, and so he didn't need to concentrate all of his energy and all of his time just on the defensive side of things. He could relax a little in the batter's box. The numbers weren't looking as bad in September, like, my God, when you hit anybody who hits like Danny hit in April is obviously squeezing the bat pretty darn hard by the end of a bad streak like that. So it might have just been he felt a lot more comfortable with the guys he was catching and actually had a little bit of time. Again, total guess here. Who knows? I haven't heard anything about.
I do have, I can't corroborate this, but this comes in from our YouTube chat. Once again, shout out to Dr. Mantis Toboggan, who says he heard that Jansen said he just tried to start pulling the ball instead of worrying about spraying.
That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that was what I was going to say. I believe it was Dan and Tabby that were talking about this on the broadcast a couple days ago, but they talked about how he talked to Marcus Semien, and Marcus is like a dead pull hitter for all of his power. And he said that he just stopped trying to hit the ball the other way because his power is to the pull side. And we saw most of his hits to the pull side. Go figure, right? And then I want to see somebody in the chat, if somebody can, go look up Danny Jansen's stats from the day after Tyler Chatwood was no longer a Blue Jay until the end of the season. I bet you something there coincides with it, because if I was catching and I looked up to the mound and saw Tyler Chatwood out there, I'm probably sweating and I'm nervous the rest of the game because Tyler Chatwood is on the mound at some point. So
probably sweating, mixing that with some sunscreen, trying to load the ball up, right?
Hey, look,
you're doing something.
If that's the case, if the solution to why Danny Jansen was hitting better was because he took advice from Marcus Semien, I buy it even harder at this point.
Yeah.
That's what
it's
the
small
streak
sample
is.
size, but I do have confidence in Danny Jansen moving forward.
And that's how it happens, right? That was Jose Bautista.
Yeah.
Right. That was Joey Bats. It was September. It was like, whoa, that season was generally trash for him, except for September. And it came out that Vernon Wells, if Vernon Wells did one good thing with the Toronto Blue Jays, Vernon Wells told Jose to just swing earlier, like start sooner. And that turned that one little thing. You got Dante Bichette helping Teoscar Hernandez. You got Vernon Wells. I mean, those little things can help. A big deal there.
Damian's big point with Jansen was, you're very good as a pull hitter, but look at the pitches. Look at your approach. You're sitting there taking that fastball down the middle or that fastball in the inside corner for strike one. Man, you got and then with two strikes, that's that curve or that splitter on the outside corner you're chasing, and guess what? You're still trying to pull that. You're rolling it over to short. It's the pitch selection, Danny. Be ready to jump on that. You're only going to see one. You want to pull it? You're going to see a pitch to hit. That's the good news. But the bad news is you're only going to see one. So you've got to be ready. And his approaches when he came back in September, the aggression, it was controlled aggression. It was very impressive. It was
different.
Pat on the back. It was night and day.
A lot of anything else to add?
Go ahead, Joel. Sorry, buddy. No,
I was just going to say that this is a guy who gets in his head and thinks that shaving his mustache in game will affect things, right? Like that's what type of player that Danny Jansen is, right? And to Scott's point, being able to have the consistency with the starting pitching as the season developed, but also the fact that the lineup was so on fire and everybody, the success kind of rolls down the line. And when you have to be so pinpoint against Vladdy, when you have to be so pinpoint against Bo Springer, when all those guys are in the lineup, when you see, as a pitcher, you see Danny Jansen at the plate, you go, I have to go after this guy. And with taking that mentality of, well, he's going to come after me, then I have to come after him. And simply as those tumblers lock into place, the approaches match, and he doesn't have to worry about literally shaving his facial hair for more success now. It's his approach is it's basic. It's like you guys all said, try to find one and hit it as hard as you can and let the chips fall where they may. And mixing that with his good on base skills, his ability to walk as a catcher, power and walking on this team is great, and what you need offensively out of your catching spot. So, yeah.
So before we move on here, I know I'm kind of hijacking this here, Adam, but I'm just really curious as to what all of you guys think about. I almost hate saying his name because I feel like there's only a finite number of times you can say his name before he has bad tacos and winds up missing times.
Sure.
But Julian Merriweather has looked incredible again this spring. I read a big article from Arden Zwelling who talked about how he completely revamped the way that he trained in the off season. He threw his entire routine out and revamped it 100% from the ground up because he just felt like at 31 and never being able to get a healthy season in him that obviously something wasn't working. And again, you see the stuff and it is elite. It's phenomenal. He throws 100 miles an hour. He's got that nasty changeup that has that 20-mile-an-hour gap, right? He's just an exciting guy. Where do you guys land on him? Do we put any hope in him, or just anything we get out of him is extra, is good? Craig, step in. I love this.
I got a huge. I always say to anybody, if they say, Craig, how are the Jays going to do? And I say, now, how do you think the Jays are going to do? Then we'll have that conversation. I'll always say, however you think the Jays are going to do, I promise you haven't thought of these three. So let's think what you think the Jays are going to do. And let's think about a healthy Ryan Baracki, pitches to his potential. A healthy Nate Pearson, pitches to his potential. A healthy Julian Merriweather, pitches to his potential. So think about what you think of the Blue Jays right now. Imagine a world where two of those three happen. Cha-ching. Are you kidding me right now? You're pushing 100 wins here. This is a special and an elite team. We can talk till we're blue in the face than we did earlier about how bullpens are structured these days. The common thread is you're coming out of that bullpen, you've got to have swing and miss stuff. Julian Merriweather is a rare Blue Jay that has swing and miss stuff. Yeah. Versatile. You can bring him in at any point during the game. I still have dreams man, I don't want to be bad here. Let's just say I still remember fondly his opening weekend in New York last season. Let's put it that way. Like I get a big, huge smile on my face remembering that stuff and how dominant he was. Remember, guys, the Blue Jays held on to Josh Donaldson, held until the return asset was going to be Julian Merriweather. And a lot of people thought that was a huge blunder by the Blue Jays. Atkins and Shapiro had Merriweather pegged from time and are very excited here. He's one of the men. You talk about upside. Again, the swing and miss stuff that he has. He's versatile. He can be that guy in the 7th or the 8th inning. I'm massive on Julian Merriweather. We may have to give up on the Baracki dream, guys, but Merriweather and Pearson, you'll be kicking and screaming, getting me to come off of either one of them. I love both of these guys.
6 innings. He pitched 6 innings before he was injured last year. He had a .5 wins above replacement. Like, that is insanity. Yeah. 6 innings he pitched.
Look, he faced two, Scott.
Against the best of the best.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add about Julian Merriweather there before we move on? All right. Let's take this next one here then.
Let's say your bold prediction falls flat and Romano isn't that guy this season, or God help us has injuries, by the way. Hello, Julian Merriweather.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So let's talk. This next one comes in from Discord. So the comment is, if you buy MLB The Show, you will actually have spent more this offseason than the Oakland A's.
Yes.
Fun little comment there. Tough time to be an A's fan. I don't even know where to begin with this. Scott, Oakland.
Frankie Montas is gone, right? After Sean Manaea was traded, do you think Montas is gone by the trade deadline?
He might be
why hold on to
April. Yeah. Seems imminent at this point, right? Like if you're selling your assets, you may as well sell your assets.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, there's no point in doing anything else. It's a funny way to put it, though. But sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Well, Oakland were buyers at the trade deadline. Josh Harrison and Marte. They come into Toronto on that weekend, early September, in a playoff spot. They're up 8-2 in the 8th inning. Remember that? Jays tied 8. Oakland still rallies for 2 in the top of the 9th. Crap. Then was it the Springer 3-run walk-off? The walk-off. The Jays go on to sweep that series. Oakland walked into that series in a playoff spot, walked out of that series out of a playoff spot, and they've never been the same. The Toronto Blue Jays ended the Oakland Athletics in that weekend series. It's incredible to see. Incredible to see. And the return that's coming on these trades, guys. My God, it's not even top-tier prospects coming back to these guys. I just don't get it.
I can't even imagine how frustrating it would be as an A's fan to watch this happen time and time again. And listen, like, I feel like we're piling on here, but this is something that I saw just today that kind of blew my mind. So there's 5 players that are making more this year than the entire Oakland Athletics team, and that's Max Scherzer at $43 million, Corey Seager at $37.5 million, Anthony Rendon at $37.5 million, which, I mean, I'd rather the whole Oakland Athletics than that one, but Garrett Cole and then Carlos Correa in at 36 each. So, man.
And Bauer.
I was going to say, that doesn't even include Bauer, who's
he's not
paid
getting
to not
paid,
play.
Though. Isn't he? Is he getting paid?
Yeah.
I just mean the contract exists, right? And he is getting paid out, yeah.
I mean, they're going to try and get out of it, but
They won't.
that's going to be grieved, and they're going to be on the hook for it. Like,
Yeah.
I read this good tweet from John Hyman. The Oakland A's have the highest payroll in baseball in 1991. It was $33 million that year. It's the same this year.
Oh my God.
That's absurd.
To take it back to Moneyball, which is the next movie you guys are going to review, so bring that up again. It just feels like the Giambi poster and the Isringhausen poster
coming down.
and the Johnny Damon poster are all coming down, and they're pulling up David Justice. Hey,
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting that's the next movie that you guys are going to review, and they're doing it all over again. It's
very fitting.
20-year process. It's a 20-year anniversary of that when that story was told. So
They're really stripping down, too. I mean, normally you see Oakland retool every 4 years anyways, but this is like right to the bones.
This is rebuild. Yeah,
this is
retool.
rebuild. Yeah.
In 2002, they still had Mulder and Zito and Chavez and Tejada, and they had a boatload of players. Now, you can tell me a bunch of players who make more than a team, and it's not a basketball team.
Yeah.
If we keep single week finding a way for you guys to come back to this god-awful movie Moneyball, I'm going to stop coming on every week.
Oh, Craig. All right, let's pivot now slightly, and let's go back to what we had on the docket here. So extensions are the name of the game right now. 3 in particular that I want to talk about. So we got Charlie Montoyo being extended by the Blue Jays. Love it or hate it, let's just talk it quickly, and then we're going to talk Jose Ramirez and his extension difficulties, as well as the New York Yankees and their trouble signing Aaron Judge long term. Charlie Montoyo, let's start there. Jim, how do you feel about Charlie Montoyo getting the extension?
I'm fine with it. I mean, is he the best manager? That's up for debate, but I'm also a fan of just keeping this team together, keeping the thought process together, keeping everything together. So you've got that with Montoyo. Obviously, there's got to be a feel that the vibe in that clubhouse, everything in that clubhouse, he is a positive model for that. And so let's just keep it there. I don't want to bring somebody new in and maybe mess that up. He's got experience, right? He's got that same fire inside of him that this entire team has last year, that they missed the playoffs by 1 game. Mm-hmm. So they've all got that same fire, and I like that they keep them together. I can't wait to talk about J-Ram stuff. I'll pass on that. I'll let you guys talk about my
J-Ram just never die, do they?
Did you hear the latest that maybe there was some beef? Does anybody know if there was beef, really seriously beef between Jose Ramirez and
let's put
Reese
a button
McGuire
in that just for now. Let's a good tease. Let's just wrap up with Charlie Montoyo here. Get everybody started. I think we're all kind of on the same page. But Justin, I haven't heard from you. How do you feel about Montoyo getting the extension?
Yeah, it's like we just said. Charlie is a culture guy, and he's surrounded by a great cast of characters. Right, you've got your bench coach John Schneider. Congrats on the promotion to him, by the way.
Yeah.
Guillermo Martinez has proven to be a very good hitting coach. Pete Walker, obviously, great pitching coach. We won't comment on the off the field stuff. But Luis Windmill Rivera is your infield coach. Like, I mean, they've got a great cast of characters around him. So he's not like managers are like, they're the figurehead, right? It's like a hockey coach. You've got your assistants that run your power play. He's got guys that run his hitting. He's got guys that run his pitching. He's there to weave it all together. And that's when people say, oh, he doesn't get ejected enough. Why should he get ejected?
Right.
What's the benefit to the Blue Jays if Charlie Montoyo gets ejected? There isn't one.
Pete Walker's scarier anyways. Send
he's
Pete
scared.
out. Yeah.
Pete Walker just sits there and just glares at the umpires, and then they just piss themselves a little bit. But like, I don't know, man. I think that the extension is good. I'm curious to see when it comes time for those options, what the club does. Well, obviously, we'll see if they win Craig's World Series this year. Hope they do. Think they will. But I think if they do, then Charlie Montoyo is the manager of this team during the current generation, as long as this core lasts, kind of thing. So I don't know. I like it. I think that I'm more happy that the entire coaching staff stayed around.
Yeah.
One thing that Adam said when we were talking about this on Friday, he called him Papa Charlie.
Yeah.
And he does have that vibe. It's a very family orientated culture. Exactly. He's kind of the figurehead, and they love him. So, we can always pick apart managerial decisions and in-game decisions, and every manager on every team and every organization is obviously going to make mistakes. There were lots of things I questioned Charlie on, especially in that first half of last season. But I guess this is an easy way of framing it. But when a team wins, it's hard to question anything. And like in September, when the Jays were winning nonstop, I don't think I can think of one thing that I was like really all that upset that Charlie did. So
one of the best Charlie quotes ever is when he was asked why he was pitching Tyler Chatwood. He said, well, he's the guy. These are the guys we've got, right? Like they didn't have anybody. The pitching staff at the beginning of last season was terrible. Who was he supposed to throw out? Craig? Yeah. Craig said he's waiting for a call.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, what are we gonna do? Like,
he's like, now, we went with Dolis last night.
And he blew it last night. So
and
now
he blew it last night.
Turned to blow it tonight. Yeah.
I'm not about to become a Charlie Montoyo apologist, but I do also think that there is value in the continuity. The managerial blunders that he may make, I think, are made up for by the general team chemistry. I think there's something real there. I also think, here's another detail, there's not exactly a bunch of phenomenal managers just waiting to be hired. So if we get rid of him, we're rolling the dice with a new guy who probably doesn't have any major league manager experience anyways. Go with the devil you know. I think if they miss the playoffs, though, he's still gone. Like, as much as it's a contract extension, we're talking nickels here, like on the budget of this team. So it's security. It's a way to not have this be a question all year, and I think that's good, right? We're not going to hear those questions, at the end of a 6-game losing streak where, oh, is this the end of the line for Charlie, right? Like, it does put all those, let's just not even talk about it, right? He's got the extension, but if they win 85 games and miss the playoffs, I think he's done no matter what.
Yeah, look, I'll scream until I'm blue in the face that I think John Schneider should manage this team, but not right now. I don't think you can bring a guy in during a competitive window to manage a team. You have to wait until 5-6 years from now when they've gone through and they've hopefully won 4 World Series, and then they have to start retooling again, right? And then you can bring in a new manager at that point. I think that's why
comes in and shakes things
someone
up,
who can help Aroldis Martinez grow as a man.
As a man, yeah. 100%.
As the placeholder for Terry Francona, this Cleveland crew, they got Terry Francona to leave the Red Sox to come to Cleveland, so they feel thick as thieves to me. I think they can bring in. I've always thought Montoya was that way. Where I got respect for Montoya. And first of all, the Blue Jays won with John Gibbons. So we've seen teams can win despite their manager.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for not being a John Gibbons apologist or whatever.
First
I don't know.
That's the first I've ever seen. I won't get too fired up on this. I don't want to take all the time. But what really impressed me about Montoya, guys, is that letter that Bo wrote when the Blue Jays came home. Remember, he put it up on the players' website.
Yep.
He made it crystal clear that these guys, their hearts and soul were bleeding to come back home and play in front of the. I had no idea it meant that much to them because they didn't carry themselves that way on the field. I didn't think they held their head. I didn't think they said "woe is us," had a "woe is us" attitude.
Never.
I didn't think, "Oh, our next game is where?" Oh crap! Oh my God, half our home game, half the stands are wearing what jersey? Oh man, I didn't think they hung their head at all. And we say in football all the time, the teams take on the persona of their head coach. Well, isn't that applicable here in baseball? And to Jim's point, that's my pet peeve, Jim. When people talk in baseball, the managers don't even. Well, how come all these billionaires, how did they become billionaires? Like, how come every single team pays the manager millions and millions of dollars a year? They might as well have us out there doing a TikTok live for the game if it's that inconsequential. Like, I don't get it. I think managers are a really big deal, and a great as well that Adam talked about there. You just can't have these questions all year. If you're the Blue Jays, you have to set a standard that you're not willing to have a lame duck coach. And also to Adam's point, if they decided tomorrow that, hey, you know what, my gosh, this is not going to work out with Montoya. This basically 1-year extension does nothing to inhibit any moves on Montoya anyway. So I like it.
Two perfect examples. Luis Rojas with the Mets last year and Jace Tingler with the Padres. I mean, that is how you can, that exhibit A, exhibit B, that managers matter because those two teams had the talent. They had enough to make the playoffs, and they both finished with losing. No, I don't think did the Padres finish with a losing record last year, didn't they?
9 wins.
So that is, and it's solely on the manager. The managers definitely do matter. And now, again, I mentioned earlier, Buck with the Mets, you need that stable man in the chair, and they've got that with Buck.
The one element that I was going to add to it, because I'm split a little bit, I feel like Montoya has to prove something because we were slated of being a 98-win team last year. If all the chips fall to where they may with our runs and our production, we should have been 98 wins. Those runs weren't managed so well, and we had 8 less wins than we should have had with that amount of production. You look at Scott's service over in Seattle, and you look at the amount of run production between the Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners. That's like having a car that has 800 horsepower and another car that has 600 horsepower. And when they both race, and when you get to the end of the race, that car is right on your ass, and you're way better. You have way more horsepower. You should be way out in front of this car, but they got there with way less under the hood, and they got right to that finish line fractionally behind you. So to say that a manager is like, to me, you can we talk about Buck Showalter changing the flow of a river, midstream. Buck Showalter was bounced after he got the Yankees back to the playoffs for that 1995 series. They bring in Joe Torre. You got the last true ultimate dynasty in baseball, right? So but the other thing about Montoya that I love is that he speaks Spanish. And you want to go down and you want to sit to Vladdy and you want to talk to Vladdy about something, and you don't speak to him in English, you start speaking to him in Spanish. The ability to talk to those players, to Teoscar, to Santiago Espinal, to anybody on a core value on the team in their language, that's such a step. So I understand that connection that you can make on somebody who has that ability to speak to you in your words. So, yeah.
Makes a huge difference. I know one thing that stood out to me when we talked to Michael Krause. He was with the Canadian national team. Center fielder, 30 years old. He had booted around minor league systems for years. And he talked about going and playing winter ball in Venezuela and being blown away by some of the guys who he literally played with in North America and how much better they were in Venezuela playing in those winter ball leagues with Spanish coaches and Spanish players all around them and being in their element. So if you can make a player feel at home and feel like they're in their world, it makes a massive difference, right? Like it's night and day. So that is, I think, a really important little tidbit.
Confidence is a major factor in performance in sports. I think that's especially true in baseball. And I think we'd be kidding ourselves to pretend that the confidence stops at the batter's box, right? So having that confidence, even just communication wise in the dugout in the clubhouse, I think is absolutely a great point. And that's That's a real
And
value
bring
add.
it back
for
to
them,
Danny
really.
Jansen, who struggled mightily at the beginning of the season, but I think he had the confidence to know that his struggles are going to be looked. You can struggle on this team. Okay, we've got your back, and they had his back throughout the season. So having those stumbling blocks along the way, but having that manager behind you who says you're still playing tomorrow, that confidence that fills you in. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. He has to prove himself. Yes, this is the team. And if there's any stumble along the way, there's no security there. So,
All right. Well,
Or just hit.
sorry. Go
I mean,
ahead, Craig,
same
and then we'll move on.
Knew he was playing every day. Same idea.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see that with Cavan this year. Who knows? Let's talk, because we're getting really tight to the end. I know we got a lot to get to. I don't think we're going to get to all of it today, but I do want to touch on this.
Probably before you start this new topic, too, I got to cut out 15 minutes early, but a pleasure to all of you guys.
All right, Scott.
Always enjoyed talking Blue Jays and baseball, and yeah, enjoy the end of the show. Adam, is it easier if I don't just click out of here? Should I just
click out
do
of
the
here,
mute
leave.
thing? Click out, leave?
Go away.
All right. Later, gang.
Thanks so much, Scott, and we'll see you. Okay, he's gone. Never mind. I guess that's the end of my goodbye
Bye,
to
Scott.
All right, we'll see him on Tuesday for Mailbag Mondays. All right, so the last thing I do want to make sure we get to before we run out of time is this Jose Ramirez rumors, gossip. I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess it's news, even though nothing seems to be happening. This talking point just won't die.
Yeah,
Jim, you start.
I kind of love it. I mean, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I love it. I mean, there's so much drama to it. There's Cleveland that's like, we're not going to trade him. Not going to happen. He's our boy. And then Cleveland's trying to work out a contract extension, but they are massively underpaying him. They're lowballing him with these contract offers. And then you got the Blue Jays, the connection, Shapiro to Cleveland. You've got scouts at Blue Jay games. You've got people following Alejandro Kirk around, videotaping him from Cleveland. You've got the agent from Jose Ramirez LOLing and sub tweeting the whole situation. And then you've got somebody putting out a rumor. I don't know if there's any legitimacy.
Carlos Baerga
talking about the beef between
Reese
McGuire. I mean, it's everywhere. And
Hold
it's
on,
so
stop.
fascinating.
I haven't heard this
it.
rumor about a beef with Reese McGuire and anything, but he's got his own beef to deal with. So,
yes.
Sorry, I had to go there. So
Yes,
for anybody that
I
doesn't
applaud you
know,
for that.
just tell us what was the rumor there, because maybe somebody else hasn't heard it as well. So what was the rumor with Reese McGuire?
A rumor is that there was beef between Jose Ramirez and Reese McGuire, and that Reese McGuire being shipped out for Zach Collins is one step closer to being able to get a Jose Ramirez trade done. I say to that, I don't know if I buy that, because I don't think the Blue Jays need to convince Jose Ramirez to be traded to them. They need to convince the Guardians to trade Jose Ramirez to them. So I don't know if I believe that, but Carlos Baerga, the driving force for a lot of these rumors, is fantastic because he has so many connections with Cleveland, right? That time that he was there, he was right on the Barrios extension. He was right on the Chapman deal. He was right on. He broke the Simeon. So you have to give him some credit for everything that he's put out there. And he's been wrong on a lot of things too, but he just, obviously he's connected to both franchises. He knows people on both sides. So that's why I think you got to take some of this stuff and give it some weight. But I absolutely, I mean, just even if this doesn't happen, I just love this whole process because it's great content. I mean, everybody wants to talk about it. It's like you could just go forever on this stuff, and that's the fun part. I will say this: I think the Blue Jays need to be aggressive right now, because if they wait, okay. Let me try to get my thoughts in line here. Cleveland should hold on to him until the trade deadline, because you're building a new you're basically building a new franchise name. You don't want to tell your fans that, don't come here. There's nothing to see.
There's nobody here.
Right. So hold on to Jose Ramirez, because you're trying to rebuild the franchise image and all that. So for that reason, I think they need to hold on to him. But Toronto needs to be as aggressive as they can, because if they don't get this deal done until the trade deadline, how many more teams are going to be in on J-Ram at that point? If Cleveland announces open season on Jose Ramirez right now, all of a sudden the Mets will be teams that look at Jose Ramirez as that one missing piece to win the title will be in on him. And everybody else that looks at him. I mean, you'll have half the league trying to get Jose Ramirez at the trade deadline. I think right now it's probably just a handful of teams. So the Blue Jays need to, if they really want him, I think they should be aggressive and go get him. That's my whole 2, 3, 4, 5, 25 cents on it.
You made some really good points there. I think you're right that the price tag to get him probably cheaper now than it will be mid-season. I'm always kind of surprised when I don't hear that there already is more teams interested in Jose Ramirez. I'll just speak to my skepticism about this Reese McGuire beef too, and then we can open it up to the floor. It does seem like if that was the actual reason that this deal hasn't gotten done, he would have been fucking gone so long ago.
Yeah. Like, DFA'd him.
Yeah. There's
instantly.
If that was the one, like if that was an actual reason why it didn't get done, we'd be like, all right, see you later. Like fast we would have dropped him to get that deal done. So I can't imagine. I don't know, but it's fun to speculate. Justin, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think maybe Jose Ramirez is more of a Dollar General guy, whereas we know Reese McGuire prefers Dollar Tree. But maybe Jose Ramirez is a Dollar Tree spokesperson, and Dollar Tree didn't want him on the same team as Reese McGuire. Who knows?
Yep.
You know what? I've talked about it on our show. Like I would love to see Jose Ramirez. Yeah, let's go get him. But my skepticism and my thinking is more future thinking. He's got a couple of years left on this current club option, super cheap contract. And then you've got to extend him. Do you want to extend Teoscar Hernandez or re-sign him? He's going to go to free agency this year. Do you want to extend Vladdy? Do you want to extend Bo? Do you want to extend Manoah? Those are there's going to be some big contracts coming down the pipe. And yeah, we know Rogers is loaded. They could have the biggest payroll in baseball and go over the Steve Cohen tax all they wanted to. But are they going to? If they're winning World Series every year, yeah, maybe. But do you really prefer Jose Ramirez long-term over those guys that are currently on the roster who are younger than Jose Ramirez? Yes, he's a great player, insanely good switch hitter, fits the team right now, but does he fit the contract structure and the payroll long-term? That's my only worry, is that by signing him, then the Jays try to do what Cleveland is doing to Ramirez right now, and they try to lowball Vladdy, they try to lowball Bo, and one of those guys walks away, right? That's my worry about it.
I don't have any. I wouldn't even consider the Blue Jays making any sort of a move that would jeopardize our ability to retain Vladdy or Bo long term.
And that's why I think they haven't done it yet.
We'll see how the Manoah thing shakes out. I mean, it's been one season. I don't
one
quite
season.
want to anoint him the ace of the future, but I mean, some real optimism there.
100%.
Teoscar, I would say goodbye to in a heartbeat for Jose Ramirez.
Yes.
Lourdes, I think, is probably gone as part of the trade. If we're going to extend him, I feel like the extension is compensated when Chapman's contract's done, because he's done in 2 years, so he's going to be off the books. And I sure would rather extend Ramirez for 4 to 6 years than have Chapman on our team past the 2 years we've already got him. That's kind of how I feel about it. Go ahead, Jim.
To kind of follow up on that, the way they handle Chapman, just buying out those final 2 arbitration years and not going beyond that kind of gives you, I've been saying it for months, that every single thing the Blue Jays do needs to be with the thought of Vladdy and Bo in mind. Everybody else can go, basically, and you just have Vladdy and Bo. And that's why it's hard to make this trade, because I do think even if you trade for Jose Ramirez, which fits that thought process, because these are 2 years with Vladdy at a very affordable contract, you have to still have prospects there to come up when you let Teoscar and Lourdes Gurriel and just go down the line and all these other players leave. But I think that you have the Chapman not getting anything beyond those 2 years. I mean, Chapman will be off the books in 2 years. Ryu will be off the books in, I think, 2 years. Yep. There are contracts that fall off the books that could lead them to giving Jose Ramirez, a $30 million a year contract starting in the 2024 season, whatever it is, if they go and get
31 at that time, by the way, Ramirez. So I don't know if we're worried about that at all.
Say it again.
He's 29 already. He turns 30 in September this year. Ramirez does.
And that actually, again, that's a good thing because it's not a 10-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Like it's Carlos Correa is trying to get a 10-year deal. You got all these players trying to get these really long deals. You're probably going to be looking at $30 million for 5 years, 30 to 35 AAV for 5 years.
Similar Springer level contract, even
right? Where Vladdy is going to be a 10-year contract, and Bo, Vladdy and Bo are going to be 10-year contracts. Jose Ramirez fits the plan of everything that we do. We need to do with the mindset that Bo and Vladdy get 10-year extensions. Vladdy gets $400 million and Bo gets $300 million, whatever it is. It fits the process.
I want to just gauge the temperature here, and then we'll start to kind of wrap things up here. I know how Scott feels about this, but for the rest of the four of you, where does your confidence in this front office, like just say on like a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you with the Shapiro Atkins team leading the helm? Because I know there's a lot of Blue Jays fans that are still in love with Alex Anthopoulos and think that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
He is. He is.
Okay, so we're gonna get some argument here, and this is good because for me, I am a firm believer in the Shapiro Atkins team at this point. I think we are in blessed hands.
Love it.
Okay, and basically every move they make, even if it seems weird, this might be like a cult mentality, but I just trust them so much at this point that like it just feels like, well, that was probably the right thing to do. Like whether we sign Ramirez, whether we bring up Gabriel Moreno, I'm just gonna feel like that was probably the right thing to do. They know what they're doing a whole lot better than I do. So scale of 1 to 10, let's just go around quickly and talk about our confidence in this team. And if you want to compare it to AA in Atlanta there, I mean, congrats to his World Series. But how's everyone feel about this management team compared to the last? Jim, let's start with you.
10. I think. I mean, as far down as what looks like a small move, this trade today, trading a player that had no options for a player that does have options. You can start him in the minor leagues, Zach Collins, and you can call him up, and you still have another option to send him down. They're a very similar player, right? Both left-handed hitting catchers and former first-round picks that have sort of failed to launch at the big league level. So you basically you traded. I tweeted the Spider-Man thing where they're pointing at each other. It just kind of felt like they're a very similar player. That is a smart move because you get the extra option. Because if you try to send Reese McGuire through waivers, he's not going to make it. Someone's going to pick him up. So I'm all tens on these guys. I remember listening to Shapiro talk years ago saying, basically trying to calm everybody down, like patience. When we're ready, we will go, and you will know when we're ready. But we're not ready yet. This went back like when I think Shapiro was in his first or second year. Yeah. So the patience, the intelligence, the big moves that they're able to make, I'm all in on them. I also really like Alex Anthopoulos to lose Freddie Freeman, but replace him with Matt Olson and basically say, Freddie Freeman, forget you. We're not waiting around playing this game for you.
That was a great move.
We're going to go get Olson. The trades they made, what Anthopoulos did, the trade deadline, I love Anthopoulos. I'm okay with what he did when he was with Toronto. I do believe one of the reasons why we have Vladdy is because of Alex Anthopoulos. If I have my timing right on that,
that's correct.
So I'm all in on Anthopoulos. I'm also all in on these two that we have right now.
And to be fair to AA as well, it was the scouts that he put in place that encouraged the Shapiro Atkins era to draft Bo Bichette as well too. So another key piece there. Like I'm a huge believer in the current regime as well too. I would give them an 11 if I could, but like they've made very few poor decisions, right? And I mean, they traded Joe Panic for Adam Simber and Corey Dickerson. You guys, like, how does Miami agree to that deal? Because they want to get a salary, but like,
such a good deal.
Yeah, you got Simber for 2 more years after this or something crazy. Still, it's unbelievable. But they've made some bad deals. They signed Tyler Chatwood, but I mean, you can't win every time, and you didn't expect him to be as bad as he was. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that they have been 100% honest, and they've done exactly what they said they're going to do. Right? They like you said, Jim. They said patience, and now they're going. They started going with Ryu 2 years ago. Then they went with Springer, and then they went with Gosman. So it's 3 years in a row of big contracts, and it's going to keep happening. And there's going to be, they extended Barrios to a 7-year deal.
Right.
Like they're going now, like you said. So that goes back to Ramirez, right? If you're going, why not go get him too?
Yep.
But I mean, how much can you go before you have to be like, hey, we've got a pretty good team right now. Let's put out cruise control for a bit here, and then as things happen, as an injury happens, then they reassess and they go get somebody to fill that need. So yeah, I'm a 10 as well.
Okay, Joel, how about yourself?
I just like the wave that they've rode. They came in here knowing that they would be able to take a financial step forward out of Cleveland. There was always going to be limitations on what they could spend and what they could do in Cleveland. And Billy Beane has stayed in Oakland for 20 years, and he has had to do this over and over and over and over again. Well, Atkins and Shapiro have the ability to build something, to establish that core, and then feed it properly to its fullest potential. The fact that we are the Toronto Blue Jays are the only team in Canada, and that market possibility, like look at what happened when the Raptors became that team. You have an incredible fan base on a team that has made 2 playoff appearances since '94, right? Yeah. Like if you put consistent winning in front of this fan base, if you're showing up in the playoffs over and over again, the potential of how many fans you can excite and bring into this team is really limitless. You've got it's its own monster up here, right? So, and they've done everything that they said that they were going to do. They've always been incredible with pitching. That's Cleveland has always had that incredible mentality of being able to build pitchers, and that has seemingly just been able to transition over here. And all of a sudden, we're not only do we have a core of amazing players and hitters, but we have this beautiful rotation and all of these bullpen arms that you talk with, the potential and the ceilings that they have. So yeah, I've been a fan of this team for a long time, and I've never been so optimistic about their future and their present at the same time. Those things shouldn't coincide. You're like, oh, I'm really looking forward to the future, but I'm also looking forward to the present. Like, yeah, that's just incredible to be able to pull all that together in such a seemingly short period of time.
A great point. A quick stat correction here coming in from YouTube chat. Connor says, Joel, you forgot that they made it in 2020 as well. So that's 3 playoff appearances since '94. So
yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, I forgot about last.
Credit where credit's due. All right. Craig, how about yourself? Oh, sorry, Joel. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. How you feeling?
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm as optimistic as I can be about.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I'm drunk.
Craig, how about you?
Well, I'm very upset over here. I haven't liked any of you guys for the last 5 minutes. Way too much praise for Alex Anthopoulos, and there is no extension for Bo Bichette. I know that's for another time. But Shapiro and Atkins, you wanted me to compare them to Anthopoulos. I'm going to compare them to Gillick and Paul Beeston. You talked about what Oakland spent in 1991, and they were the top payroll. 1992, that was the Blue Jays at $32 million top payroll. 1993, that was the Blue Jays top payroll at $32 million. 92. Jack Morris is available, cut him a check. Dave Winfield's available, cut him a check. 93. Paul Molitor is available, cut him a check. Dave Stewart, cut him a check. Candy Maldonado, cut him a check. Devo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. By 94, you won in 92 and 93. By 94, they were the worst team in baseball. And in 2015, when they made the playoffs again, it was the shortest playoff drought in North American sports. Cutting a check season over season is not sustainable. What Shapiro and Atkins are building, absolutely sustainable. When we rave every single week about what an exciting time this is to be a Blue Jay fan, that's the umbrella we're under. It's because this is sustainable. This is sustainable. This Blue Jay playoff window is going to open this year. It's going to be open for about 8 to 10 years. Like, it's going to be really very impressive. I've predicted before, over the next 5 years, the White Sox and the Blue Jays will run into the playoffs 3 or 4 times. Like, there's a couple teams in the American League East whose playoff windows are just opening. One of them is the Blue Jays, and it's because what they're building is sustainable.
Love it.
And just to add one quick thing. I know Joel was talking about it, and Shapiro and Atkins, you mentioned Billy Beane being in Oakland for so long. Like, Mark Shapiro started in Cleveland in 1991 as in the organization, and became their executive or GM in 2001. So he doesn't go anywhere for a short period of time. Alex Anthopoulos has bounced around, right? Like he was the GM of the Jays for a very short period, like 6 years or something, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then he went to LA for 2. Then he's been in Atlanta for the last 4 or 5 years. So he kind of goes in there, spends the whole prospect cupboard, and then moves on to the next place, you know? So he's kind of like Genghis Khan. He goes in and pillages a little bit, and then he wins a little bit, and then he just fades off and rides off to the next place. You know what I mean? Whereas, like you said, sustainability is a big pit with the current team.
Here's 2 little tidbits that I just want to point to, where I think this is like a good small macrocosm of what Shapiro Atkins do, where they're just playing like 4D chess where everyone else is playing checkers. But like looking at the George Springer contract and the way that was structured, the most expensive year in that deal was this year. I mean, is it a coincidence that there was potentially a lockout and we were going to miss games and he was going to miss game checks? I don't know. Like, it just seems insignificant, but also like, why would you make the 3rd year of the deal or the 2nd year of the deal the most expensive? Like, everything else is whatever, 21 million a year. This year is 28 million a year. Just little things like that. I think they're playing like a whole nother level. The Jose Barrios extension that they just signed, he has a player opt out, but guess what? It lines up perfectly with George Springer's contract ending. So if Barrios decides to opt out, well, guess what? We've got all this Springer money coming off the books. So the Jays are going to be able to go out and say, look, we got another $25 million to spend. So they're going to be able to replace Barrios. I think it's just that sort of stuff where like they really are manipulating a lot of details that they're not even getting credit for yet. And
how much have you established the brand at that point, right?
Yeah.
How much have you established Toronto as a destination for free agents?
Yeah.
You know, you've already established it so well for 1-year players. 1-year players coming to Toronto, like this is a place where you can turn your mediocre last season into $150 million contract the next year. You know, it's a great place to come, and they have made all the right moves. So, well, not all the right moves, but a lot.
Very, very fun chatting with all you gentlemen. We are approaching I guess we're over the 2-hour mark now, so we should wrap it up. But I do want to say again, thanks to everybody for taking the time to chat Blue Jays and chat baseball. We had like 60 plus people in the YouTube chat again. So thanks to everybody watching on YouTube or listening to this or watching it later on in the week. We do this long toss, this long form roundtable discussion every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So come back and check us out again. Otherwise, I do just want to go around quickly, and if you guys can let us know, or whoever's watching, where people can find more of you, because I'm sure everybody enjoyed all the different personalities tonight. So, Craig, let's start with you, because I know I want to talk about that MLB Creator Class quickly one last time. So I know you're big on TikTok. What is your username? How can people support this campaign for you to get in on that MLB Creator Class?
Appreciate it. Blast as always, guys. The usual crew, awesome. Justin and Jim, what a pleasure to get to interact with you guys for my first time as well. First of many, I hope. That was awesome, guys. Absolutely much appreciated. On TikTok, Craig_Ballard_Jays Talk, and the talk is TOK like TikTok. Yeah, and it's hashtag MLB Creator Class. As Kami mentioned, what I'll be doing on my videos going forward is having that hashtag there. If you can tag at MLB with that hashtag as well, anything you can do to help. I mean, to be totally honest, it's going to be a tip of the hat. It's going to be much appreciated. Let's see what happens.
Very cool. All right, and Joel?
You find me over here, TikTok at Hey Kami. Pretty much the same thing that I always say, just slugging away with the movie. Got to give you all the props in the world, though, Adam, you and Scott, for always putting together such great panels for us to talk to. 2 hours just flies by. 10 episodes. I've been here for every single one, and it literally flies by. I look at the clock. You tell me that we're wrapping up, and I'm like, we talked baseball for 2 hours. Yeah. I love it. I love the people you bring on. I love being a part of this. And yeah, in about 6 weeks, I'll have some video of my film for everybody to watch. So I'm really excited to show that to everybody.
Very cool. We're really excited. All right. Thanks again, Joel. Justin, Bat Flips and Maple Dips, iTunes, Spotify, all the good places.
All the
congrats
good stuff.
on your podcast. 4 years is nothing to sneeze at. Very impressive. So tell us more about this podcast and your co-host and what you guys talk about.
For sure. Yeah. So obviously I'm Justin. My co-host is Patrick. He's out in Halifax. I'm in Saskatoon. So we're 2 Canadian guys. We've never actually met in person. Long story there. hoping to do something sometime soon. COVID has kind of put those plans on the back burner the last few years, but yeah, at BFMD Podcast on Twitter. BFMDpodcast.com is the website as well. Like Adam said, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, we pretty much exclusively talk about the Blue Jays, but we do what we did today, and we'll throw in some league-wide dabblings as well. We've even done like some Hall of Fame ballot episodes. We talk Blue Jay prospects a lot. So if you're really into that neck of the woods, come check us out there. If it's not about advanced stats, we're probably not talking about it. So we're big into that. So if you don't want stats barfed on you for an hour and a half sometimes, then maybe we're not the show for you. But we do love to have new people listen. And this is a lot of fun, guys. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys on Twitter before and interacted with you that way, but it's good to put some faces to the Twitter handles for sure. Thanks for having me on. Cool.
Thanks so much for coming. Just quickly, what is the schedule of your release for your podcast?
Oh, yeah. So normally we do a couple episodes a week. We try to do episodes after each series wraps up to recap and then tee up the next one. This last couple weeks has been a little hectic. I just moved. If you were here at the beginning, you would learn that. So I haven't been able to. This is the first time I've done anything in about 2 weeks, podcast related. So we'll get back on the train. We're going to hopefully have a season preview episode coming out Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So watch for that.
Very good. And Jim, Ballcap Sports has, I got to say, blown up in the last 12 to 18 months. I mean, when we first came across your channel, I think you were right around 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers as well. That's where we're about right now. And last I checked, I think you just hit 24,000 subscribers on YouTube. So definitely a tip of the ball cap to you and everything you got going on there. For anybody who doesn't, for some reason, somehow know about your channel already, what do you cover? I know it's a lot more intensive than what we're doing here. So for anybody that might not know you already, where can they find you? What's your schedule like? Just give us the whole rundown, Jim. And thanks again for taking the time tonight.
I appreciate that, and thank you for having me on. It is fun to talk baseball in more of a longer setting with more people. Usually it's just me by myself talking to, well, I should say by myself. I got the chat, Ballcat Nation, right? I am pretty much just doing the Ballcap Sports thing. YouTube, you can find me there. I am on Twitter at Jim Riley Live. It's all baseball, and I will certainly dive into Blue Jays when it is warranted, when it is necessary, but a complete look at baseball. I try to do live shows, and so far I've been pretty successful at it. 11 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday, and then that's the plan moving forward. So I have got the live show that just streams out through YouTube, and Ballcap Sports and Twitter at Jim Riley Live.
Very good. Just to clarify, that's 8 or 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I don't go. I used to do the late night thing, but it's actually, I do it at 11 because it's sort of it's lunchtime, right? Lunchtime on the East, West Coast. Maybe you can catch it early on before you get going doing your day. And because at night, I know there's more eyeballs at night, but there's a lot of other streamers at night, and I've been trying to just do something a little different. So I've been giving that 11 a.m. thing,
and it's working for you. So congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
We really do enjoy having you on, all four of you, and Scott as well. Even sometimes I don't mind him. Hope we can have all of you back again very soon. And to everybody who watched and commented and subscribed to everyone who was on the panel tonight. Let's just keep going and go Blue Jays go.